Story time about how my best friend's dad tried to assault me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I'm now 24, but 10 years ago, a new girl moved into our town. Her and I quickly became best friends in school. She would always come over to my house and have dinner with me and my parents. My parents really grew to love her because she was so polite and really cared about me. The only thing was that she never wanted me to go over to her house. At first I thought it might be because she was embarrassed of her house or something. And eventually I asked her and she told me that her dad was abusive towards her mom and that was the reason why she didn't want me to come over. I felt terrible that she had to live like that, so I expressed to my mom that I was really concerned about her. So my mom actually asked my best friend if she wanted to come live with us for a little bit. Let's call my best friend Sarah. Sarah said no because she wanted to be with her mom. But my mom really wanted to help Sarah and her mom. My mom was in an abusive relationship herself when she was younger, so she understood what Sarah and her mom were going through. My mom decided to invite Sarah's mom over for dinner. That's when my mom asked her about their living situation, and Sarah's mom confessed that it was pretty bad. My mom suggested that she should try to get a divorce, and a few weeks later, she filed for divorce. We were all so happy because this meant things would get better for Sarah and her mom. And things did get better. Her dad moved out to his own apartment, and a few weeks later, he had a new girlfriend. I was able to stay over at Sarah's house, and it was really fun. One of the times that I was with Sarah at her house, her dad showed up. But he started making me feel really uncomfortable. He told Sarah that I was the prettiest friend she'd ever had. I could see him staring at me. After he left, Sarah apologized. I went home and tried not to think about it. A few days later, I was walking home when Sarah's dad pulled up next to me. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my best friend's dad tried to assault me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. One day that I was at Sarah's house, I decided to walk home instead of calling my mom to pick me up. As I was walking home, Sarah's dad pulls up next to me. At this point, I still hadn't forgotten what he had said about me, and I still felt really uncomfortable. He asked me if I needed a ride, and I politely said no. Then he started to laugh and asked me if I was scared of him. Of course I said no, but the truth is that I was. And he said, well, then get in the car if you're not scared of me. And I did. As we got closer to my house, he put his hand on my lap. He asked me if I had a boyfriend, and I pushed his hand away. Then he asked me why I was being so rude. I told him that he made me feel uncomfortable, that I just wanted to get out of the car and walk the rest of the way home. He said no because it would be dangerous for me to be by myself walking at night. He put his hand back on my lap and told me that I was really sturdy. That's when he grabbed my hand and tried to put it on his lap. Of course, I pulled my hand away really quick. Then he pulled over really fast and tried to kiss me. I was so beyond disgusted. I just started yelling, and this really took him by surprise because he must have thought that I was just gonna let him. While I was yelling at the top of my lungs, I managed to unlock the car and open the door. I basically threw myself on the ground and he started yelling at me, telling me to shut up. He tried to pull me back into the car, but at this point I was laying on the ground, so he had to pick up dead weight. He grabbed my foot and started pulling me back towards the car, but I started kicking him. He told me that I was overreacting and that he was just trying to be friendly. Luckily, a few of the neighbors heard me screaming because I was right in front of their house. They came outside and ran towards me because they saw me struggling with him. That's when the woman said that she was gonna call the cops. He tried to tell the lady that I was overreacting and that he had only leaned over to put the seatbelt on, but I took it the wrong way. I told her that he tried to kiss me and she started calling the cops. That's when he drove away. I literally could not believe what had just happened. Finally, the cops arrived and so did my mom. I told them everything that happened, and I even told him that he had made a comment about me in Sarah's house a few days before that. They quickly started looking for his car and found him at a parking lot. They arrested him and he spent 2 nights in jail. His girlfriend then went to bail him out. She told the cops that he was with her and that I was just lying and that I made everything up. She even went as far as to tell the police that I had been hitting on him and that she had been a witness to it. She would even call my house at 2 in the morning and hang up. I even saw her car near my house and by my school, which means she was following me. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how my best friend's dad tried to assault me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I called the police to tell him that his girlfriend was following me. That's when the cops said that I could probably get a restraining order against him and his girlfriend. Sarah and her mom came over to our house after they heard what happened. Of course, they felt really bad, but they weren't surprised. Sarah told me that that's why she never wanted me to come over because her dad had commented things about her friends before. Worst of all is that they couldn't keep him in jail for what he did to me, but a few months later he was finally put into prison because of something else he did. Apparently he had tried to steal a car or something. Remember the crazy girlfriend I told you Sarah's dad had? She kept following me for a long time. She would even show up to my school asking me if I wanted a ride home. Eventually I was able to get a restraining order against her, but she was really scary. A few years ago she tried to follow me on Instagram. I had to block and report her. I mean, what kind of woman would fight for a man like that? The good news is Sarah and I are still good friends to this day. We even went to college together and now have steady boyfriends. Even Sarah's mom remarried and she's really happy with her husband. I look back at what happened as a learning experience, but to be honest, if he ever gets out of prison, I'm scared. Shout out to my follower Remy for always supporting me and watching my lives. If you want a shout out, watch my lives to get picked. Bye. Story time about how I was harassed at the gas station. A few years ago when I lived in LA, I would walk everywhere. By the way, you guys want more of my own story time, so here we go. The year was 2016. The victim was me. No, but seriously. I didn't have a car at the time. Actually, I still don't have a car because I can't afford one. So I would take the train or the bus everywhere. On this day, I had an audition in Santa Monica, so I decided to take the bus and then the train. When I got off the train, I walked my cute little tush over to the gas station to grab a bottle of water. I went inside, grabbed my water, and I noticed this guy staring at me. You girls know when a guy is staring at you and he's doing it on purpose. Yeah, that's what he was doing. He wanted me to see him staring at me. I quickly exited and started heading toward my audition, which was like 5 blocks away. I was about 20 feet from the gas station when I hear him yelling at me. He started saying like, hey, do you need a ride? Do you need a ride? And I just said, no, thank you. And I kept walking. Cars were on the street, so I couldn't cross the street just then. So he decided to get in his car and pull up right next to me. As he did this, I could hear him complimenting my body. He started talking about my bum and other parts of my body. I put on my headphones and I just ignored him. But obviously this made him even more upset, right? Because, you know, although I did not put music on because I wanted to hear exactly what was going on. That's when he started saying that I was a bitch and other things for not talking to him. Oh yeah, and then I needed someone to teach me a lesson. Finally, I was able to cross the street and I kept walking. This man turned onto the wrong side of the road so that he could drive right next to me and continue to harass me. He started telling me what he was going to do to me if I actually ever got into his car. I knew that if I responded, it would only accelerate his anger, so I literally did not say anything and kept ignoring him. Finally, some cars were going his way, so he had to get out of the lane and turn around. But this man literally made a U-turn on the street to come back to continue harassing me. I was literally on the verge of tears, but I was like, I'm not gonna let this guy see me cry. Saw a cafe 2 doors down and I decided to walk in. And you better believe he stopped in front of the cafe and just stared inside, waiting for me to come out. Mind you, I had 20 minutes to get to this audition and there was no late. I was going to be on time because being on time means being late. But I also did not want him to see where I was going. I went up to the girl at the register and explained to her what was happening. And I just started to cry. Luckily, she was super nice. She gave me a glass of water and just told me to sit down. Luckily, this guy didn't have any patience, so he did drive away. And then I was finally able to walk to the audition, which was like another 3 blocks away. This is why I always used to wear oversized shirts over any dress that I had. Like I have this really big button-up shirt that just hides my body perfectly, but still this happened. No, I didn't have time to get his license plate. I still remember what he looks like and what kind of car he was driving, but honestly, what am I gonna do? Call the cops and be like, hey, this guy harassed me? I sometimes literally stand in front of my closet and think, no, I'm not gonna wear that unless I'm with my husband. If you have any similar stories, please comment below because I know I'm not the only one. Also, no matter what you're wearing, you should never be approached like that. If you ever find yourself in a situation like that, just go into a store and wait it out. Who cares? It's better than having them follow you to where you live, you know? Just be safe out there. I love you guys. Bye.
Story time about my touchy English teacher. And no, he did not get fired. He still works at that same school till this day. Let's get into it. This happened when I was a senior in high school, literally last year. His class was the new English class that I switched to because my other English teacher wasn't teaching me shit. So I went to the office and asked if I could switch my classes and they said yes. But only if I was willing to drop honors English and do regular English. And I also would have to be in a freshman class. I was honestly willing to do whatever to get out the class, so I was like, sure. And now I honestly wish I didn't because of this. So it first started off with him being super nice to me, which was kind of weird because I never really talked to him before. He made me like a class leader just because I was older. And every single time I walked into his classroom, he would try to talk to me. Like not even about school, literally about anything. I didn't think that was weird. I was guessing he talked to me so much because I was older and we could relate on more stuff. This is when things started taking a turn for the worse. During tests or quizzes, he would walk around the classroom and he would always make his way back to me just so he could rub my shoulders. Or he would run his fingers through my hair. That was the biggest red flag. Then he asked me to stay after school for extra credit, like for part 2. Part 2 of my touchy English teacher. Some things I would like to add from the last video. I never had him as a teacher before, not even freshman year. I moved to that school when I was a sophomore. They told me that he was known to be creepy and that so many girls have complained about him making them uncomfortable. But they were just rumors, so I didn't think that much of it. Till that man started rubbing my shoulders in class. And it's the fact that he rubbed my shoulders and nobody else's. I was not 18, I was still 17 years old. I just started senior year. Back to the story. So he asked me to stay after school for extra credit. He said he wanted me to help him set up a project for his students, and he doesn't know what young kids like, and apparently every freshman in his class had something to do after school, so I had to do it. But since he said he would give me extra credit, I was like, okay, sure. And I definitely didn't think that this would happen. So my last class was forensics. So after school, I went to his classroom. He didn't have any supplies out or anything. So I was like, what project? He tells me to reach on top of a shelf behind his desk. He was literally sitting at his desk. He could have done it himself. So I was like, okay. But as soon as I reach up on that shelf, he gets up and grabs my ass. Like for part 3, because it only gets worse from here. This is part 3 of my touchy English teacher. So like I said, he asked me to get something off of the shelf behind his desk while he was sitting at his desk. And as soon as I go up to grab it, he grabs my ass. He literally stood up to grab it. And then I spun around and started looking at him crazy. Well, after he grabbed my butt, he kept walking as if his arm just brushed up against my ass. And he looked back at me and he was like, is everything okay? Like, okay, so we're just gonna act like he didn't just do what he just did. But I just looked at him and I was like, everything's okay. I told him that I had just gotten a text from my mom and an emergency happened, so I had to go home. But instead of going home, I went to a friend's house, and it was the same friend who told me all the rumors of that teacher being a creep. I went to a friend's house instead of going straight home because I was crying really hard and I didn't want my parents to be concerned, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to tell them what happened or not. I was only crying because I felt super uncomfortable and I didn't know what else to do. When I got to my friend's house, she told me that she would go to the office with me at school the next day. So the next day came and we went to the office. Well, this is what they said when we told them what happened, like for part 4. This is part 4 of my touchy English teacher. Okay, so my friend and me went to the office to tell the principal what happened. And he was acting really concerned and everything until I told him which teacher it was. Then he was like, oh, yeah, we get complaints about him all the time. And I was like, so are you going to do something about it? Why haven't you done something about it already? And he goes, well, a lot of students will make up things about a teacher they don't like just so they can get them in trouble. But I'm not saying you're making it up. Of course, we're going to have to look into it. Well, I told him that I wasn't comfortable in that class anymore and I wanted to go back to my honors English class. And he let me switch back. Well, after like 5 months, I still never heard anything from my principal. And I didn't know what better to do but move on with my life. I still saw him in the hallway sometimes and it was just really, really awkward. And he would smile at me as if what happened didn't happen. They basically just let him get away with it because multiple girls have complained about him before, but they didn't have any proof against him. Since there was no proof, they didn't do anything. But I feel like if it was multiple girls, something should have been done. But that's just me. This is why it's better to have one friend that you hang out with regularly instead of having a big group of friends. And trust me, you're going to want to listen to this story time. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I was kind of going through an identity crisis, and low-key still am. I went to a predominantly white school for the majority of my life. So let's just say I was extremely whitewashed. It was one of those times in my life where if a white person said the N-word around me, I would just laugh. Not because I didn't know it was wrong, but because I wanted to be accepted and I wanted to be like everybody else, and I seeked validation. Sophomore year was really when I started to become who I am today. I wanted to learn way more about my culture and my background. So I started becoming friends with people from other schools that are more diverse. Eventually, I met this group of girls. And I thought these girls were going to be the sweetest girls I would ever meet. Now, this friend group was serving flavor. I'm talking diverse to the T. One night, we decided that we were going to spend the night at one of the girls' houses. Let's call this girl Sally. I kept getting lost on the way to Sally's house, and I thought it was because I didn't know the area that well. Keep in mind, that's what I thought was the reason. I get there and we watch like 4 or 5 movies before I end up falling asleep. And when I wake up, I was in a room full of grown-ass men staring at me. Storytime part 2 of why it's better to have one loyal friend instead of a big group of friends. I forgot to mention in part 1 that when I arrived, the men were already there. Mind you, we were in sophomore year. These men looked like they were in college. So I was already a little thrown off, but I trusted it because I was with my friend. When I wake up, these men are like staring at me. But they try to look away really fast, but I could tell that they were staring at me. I start thinking the worst of the worst. I try to think of any possible way that I could get out of there, whether it was physically or mentally. So I pretend to fall asleep just to escape the reality of it. But then one of the men at the bottom of the bed starts rubbing my feet. I immediately kick my leg so I can get his hands off. Now I'm thinking he's gonna be mad and I'm gonna get fucking attacked. So I try to make small talk to loosen the tension. So I look at the guys and I'm like, hey, do you know where the girls went? One of them looks at me and says, oh, they went home. So I'm like, I thought this was Sally's house. And they say nothing. So at this point, I think I'm being set up. I try my best to not make it seem like I'm suspicious of them. I casually act like I need to pee. Walk into the bathroom and I see a window. Automatically something clicks in my mind, get the fuck out of there. Making part 3 right now. Part 3 of why you should have one loyal friend instead of hanging out with a big group of friends. So I go into the bathroom and there's a window. I'm thinking to myself, I would be so dumb. I would be so extremely incredibly stupid to go back into that room full of grown ass men that I've never met before, instead of making my escape through that window right here, right now. So I trusted my gut and I got the fuck out of there. Mind you, I'm in my PJs right now. No shoes, no socks. I'm making my great escape. Call me Pablo Escobar. While I was doing all of it, I was in disbelief. Like, I cannot believe that I'm escaping, like, right now. Like, this is actually insane. Like, I did what I believed was right at the moment. And honestly, that decision might be the reason why I'm alive right now. So So I make a run for it. I immediately run to the front of the neighborhood. I hide behind some trees and then I call my sister. I call my sister instead of my parents because my mom was the one who drove me there. And if she knew that something bad happened, she wouldn't have let me go out again. I'm frantically explaining everything on the phone to my sister. She literally speeds to come get me. When she gets there, I immediately hop in her car and we get the fuck out of there. On our way home, I get a text from Sally. Last part is part 4. I'm making that right now. Part 4 of why you should have one loyal friend instead of having a big group of friends. So I'm on my way home and I get a text from Sally. Hey girl, where are you? We went to the gas station to get some milkshakes. You could have came with, but you were already asleep. I didn't even respond. I just blocked all of them because I know damn well that they were not getting milkshakes. Because 1, why didn't they wake me up to get milkshakes? Because I wasn't the first person to fall asleep. I'd never fall asleep first at somebody's house with a big group of people. I saw somebody else who looked like they were sleeping, so I thought that I was going to fall asleep too. 2, why were all those grown ass men there? Nobody told me that they were going to be there. Like I said, we were sophomores. These men were in college. Maybe even graduated from college. They were grown. 3, why would she lie about it being her house? 4, why did the boy say she went home? And remember when I said I kept getting lost because I didn't know the area? Once I went back to look through the messages that I had with those girls to see if there was anything fishy going on, I noticed that they were all sending me different addresses. Either one number would be off or a letter would be off. They definitely were planning something because they were trying to get me there late. I haven't seen or talked to those girls since then.